traveling with the spouse, and they do not fall already under the balikbayan privilege.
Even for those who are permanent, pasensya na, nagkagulo-gulo na yung pattern of questioning ko. Kasi may mga tanong. Even those who are permanent residents, can permanent residents travel independently as long as they have their...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if they already have their own individual visa, they already are permanent residents here in the country, then they don't need to fall under the balikbayan privilege category. They already fall under those with a valid and existing visa. So as long as they have that, say for example, they are 13A dependent visa holder who is married to a Filipino and holding a dependent's visa, then they can travel on their own. They just need to show their visa and then their ACRI card upon arrival in the Philippines.
Okay, so before we go for a break, pahabol lang na question, where and how can you get this waiver? I think ito yung do sa ACRI card. Where do they apply and how do they get it?
Well, they can apply for that in any of our support offices that are authorized and our main office. So it's the usual process of applying for the ACRI card waiver, but they don't have to get the order anymore. They would just have to pay the application fee and, of course, get their re-entry permits. The re-entry permits you can also get at our main office and authorized support offices. It's in our website. It's www.immigration.gov.ph. The list is there.
Ayan, pasensya ka na kasi hindi
No
ako...
problem. No problem, Sir Cito.
We'll go for a quick break and I want to ask you just one more question and we'll be right back here on Agenda. Just a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and joining us this morning is the spokesperson of the Bureau of Immigration, Dana Sandoval. One quick question, Dana. I understand that Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morente said that the establishment of a green lane for vaccinated aliens will revive the ailing tourism industry and will generate employment for Filipinos, etc., etc. Could you give us an idea what the Bureau is planning to suggest to the IATF?
Well, it's something we look forward to. It was actually suggested by the Department of Tourism to the IATF, and they're discussing it already. It's one of the initiatives, not just the Philippines is trying to do, but also other countries are trying to do this initiative of having a green lane for those who are fully vaccinated already, because we see this as a very important step in reviving the international travel sector, the aviation sector that really have been badly hit by this pandemic. In 2020, I think the international arrivals went as low as 80% in the country, which is really a big blow to our international tourism. And we know that the IATF is already studying the feasibility of this. And if the IATF sees and deems it feasible, then we'd be very glad to implement this, as it would really, really be a big help to international tourism.
Okay, well, so fully vaccinated tourists would be welcome by using a green lane process of screening and recording and I suppose tracking so that we all know where they're going, how long they'll be staying, etc. Anyway, congratulations on that, and please give our regards to the commissioner and kindly tickle your baby for us from Agenda. Thank you very much, Dana.
Thank you, Sir Sita. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, that's Dana Sandoval of the Bureau of Immigration, and lots of good news there. Now let's switch to the other topic. Even though there are no official candidates yet, okay, for the highest and second positions in the land, both the administration and opposition are already positioning themselves for the upcoming elections. Actually, hindi lang po president and vice president, not just for the presidential and vice presidential run, even the barangay and the councilors are already very busy being epals or plastering all of their faces on billboards, moving vehicles, etc., saying happy fiesta when there is no fiesta, etc., etc. But here's the thing. There are a lot of trial balloons polluting the air. Kung di po nyo naintindihan yung ibig ko sabihin, trial balloon, testing, 1, 2, 3, let's find out if they will vote for me. Yun po yung nangyayari. Maraming nagpapakawala, nagpaparinig, nagpapatunog to find out what the public response is. So to better understand this strategy, this approach, and the confusion that's happening, let's bring in the experts. Let's bring in the experts on this matter. De La Salle Professor Antonio Contreras and Institute for Political and Electoral Reform Executive Director Professor Ramon Casiple. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us on Agenda.
Magandang umaga. Magandang mga Cito, magandang umaga, Mon.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I'll start with you, Professor Contreras. Magandang umaga. And nabanggit ko na yung salitang parinig, patunog, palutang ng mga pangalan, ng mga partnerships or tandems. We call it in media trial balloons. I don't know what the lawyers call it, but what do you have to say about this approach? I mean, parang may uncertainty or ano ba ito? Ano ba why are these politicians using trial balloons instead of just coming out in the open?
Well, it has always been a part of political strategy to have trial balloons. And it's not just trial balloons, ang iba naman dyan, panggulo. Ang iba dyan, pang-distract ng atensyon. Pero maganda na rin yung lumalabas yan para nakikita na natin ano yung mga posibleng mangyari. So it goes both ways. It could be adverse kasi nagugulo ang tao. But it's also good kasi we can already at least see kung sino yung maari. Kasi itong mga trial balloons na to, posibleng na andyan lang gagaling yung pwede magkandidato. Pero dapat ang pang-kontra din dyan, critical thinking din sa tao na yung mag-isip din kung ano yung magiging basis ng iyong pagsasabi na baka seryoso to, ito hindi seryoso. Kasi talagang tama ka, weird itong nangyayari ngayon. Ang daming mga kombinasyon na minsan iisipin mo, totoo kaya to? Katulad nitong, di ba, ang isa sa nangyayari ngayon, si Manny Pacquiao, PDP laban, siya pa nga yata ang leader niyan. Tapos maya-maya parang na-echa puwera siya. Parang ano to, laro lang ba to? Tinitest lang ba nila? Yung paglabas ba ng Pangulo na siya ay gusto magbisi presidente, ito ba ay distraction lang? Ayaw lang niya maging irrelevant? Ayaw lang niya maging lame duck? Or totohanin niya? So,
Mhm.
ano na napaka-uncertain na kasi. Pero maganda na rin 'yon para at least handa na tayo, hindi na tayo nagugulat at, gamitin sana itong oportunidad ng mamamayan na mas lalong suriin, palalimin ang pagsusuri to deepen the understanding about the political possibilities.
Well, that's the point, Professor Contreras, of this episode, because I really don't. I have to watch my mouth, but I don't really give much of a damn for politics. But Professor Casiple, for your part, ano bang masasabi mo tungkol dito sa developments dito? Because setting aside the parties, the alliances, the faces, I mean, purely as a professor, what would you be telling your students regarding this approach of politicians, this confusing and somewhat uncertain way of saying to the public their interest to run?
Well, it's normal. All elections or pre-election period is usually a very, very confusing picture. And there are people who will say that they will run. There will those who will say they will not run. But you don't have to believe them. Uh, Actually, you have to watch the actual uh, COMELEC process. If there are really serious candidates, then they would go into that process. As of now, at this time, this is more or less adjusting to the situation where nobody is actually claiming that they will run. Remember, many of those names that came up were not mentioned by themselves. They were not the ones who said it. Other
Yes.
people are saying that. Basically, that means that they have people, companions, who are actually doing it,
I
trying
see.
to.
Okay. So sorry,
Uh,
Dr. Professor. Go ahead. Go ahead. Akala ko tapos na. Go ahead, Professor.
it's basically trying to stir up things, get themselves into view. But these are not really the formal process. You won't know the formal process because these are negotiations, and that's what I'm waiting for actually.
Okay,
There are a lot of negotiations going
you're
on.
waiting for the actual filing of candidacy, actual nomination and announcement of formal candidates of every given party. But Professor Contreras, my wife in particular, who comes from Europe, they're very strong believers, and they have parties.
Mm.
Political parties actually exist for something. Yung mga partido doon ay may mga plataforma, may mga programa at may mga paninindigan. But here, uh, meron pa bang so-called political party? Because you're the one who pointed out, Manny Pacquiao, number 2 of the PDP laban, is practically being outside the Colombo.
Alam mo, parang political fiction na lang ang political party sa Pilipinas na parang it's something that you wear because it's convenient, but it's not the same party that is defined in textbook political science. Kailan mo na ideology, kailan mo loyalty. Sa Amerika talagang may mga ano pa sila dyan, primary. So alam mo talaga na seryoso ang mga tao. In fact, 2 years before, ngayon mainit na ang mga primary, ang sinong tatakbo sa primary sa ganito, sa ganyan. Sa atin talagang suntok sa buwan yan. Isa yan sa mga kakulangan ng ating political system. At talagang tama ka, nakagulo. Nagugulo ang dahil sa walang structure, walang certainty, ang daming. Like, for example, last time, tandaan natin, si Pangulong Duterte, last minute naman yan, alam natin nakakandidato siya, pero last minute nag-file. Di ba, substitution siya kay Dino. So, may mga ganong klase ng sistema, hindi ko alam kung naniniwala sila dyan because it's a strategy o feng shui ba yan sa politika, na parang mas mananalo sila pa ganyan. Alam mo, bigyan kita na isang concrete example na nagugulo ito. Sa Camarines Sur right now, because I come from that province, yung mga chismis na nakukuha ka doon, nakakatuwa. Kasi una, alam natin na ang Villafuerte, yun ang dynasty doon na naka-entrench. Lalabanan di umano yan ng alliance, sila Andaya, nila Robredo, kasama na doon. Tapos si Imelda Papi na vice governor, ngayon ay kumalas na daw di umano kay Villafuerte para suportahan si Sara at Gibo na tandem na siya naman dadalhin ni Andaya. Ngayon, ang tanong ng mga tao, kung gano'n ang alliance, does it mean that Robredo, who is or touted to run for governor in the Andaya Alliance or in the anti-Villafuerte Alliance will then support Sara and Gibo? So parang maraming tao nagtatanong, ano ba nangyari dito? Parang naghahalo-halo na yung partido, yung mga napaka-exciting ng, o talagang ito lang ay pampagulo lang talaga o pampa-excite lang. Pero ano yun parang wala na yung partido wala nang alyansa. So hindi na nagmamatter. So maganda ba to sa atin? Sa tingin ko hindi kasi hindi nagmamature, hindi nagle-level up ang ating political
Gentlemen, do we even have qualified candidates? Sorry po, no? I don't want to put you in the spot. You don't have to name names. But when I sort the names that keep floating, and many of them I know personally, I always use this measure. Kung ako CEO, tatanggapin ko ba ito sa kumpanya ko? Ito ba matatanggap sa isang private business? And I'm sorry, but I have not found people either competent enough or courageous enough to file for the position. What about you? What are your sentiments? I'll start with you, Professor Casiple. Ikaw ba sa palagay mo, meron pa ring mga talagang complete package na magaling pa o parang luray-luray na yung mga potential candidates natin?
Related din yung question ng strong party system. Kasi usually, it's the party that makes the decision for somebody to run. Even for president. Yan naman ang sa mga mature democracies. Ano? Dito wala Walang ganong klaseng partido. So what happens is that yung mga personal ambitions ay madaling itulak. These people who wants to run, if they think they have the alliance or they have the resources, gagawin nila. With or without the party. Kaya nga medyo magulo kasi minsan ina-associate sila with other candidates or parties na nagtataka ka paano sila nagkaroon ng ganong klaseng relations.
So, Professor, guys, may I ask you this, no? How much is politics and how much is it commerce? Kasi alam naman natin na maraming tatakbo para lang makakalap ng pondo tapos hindi itutuloy. Professor Contreras, you nodded, so I give you the floor.
Gano kasama na rin income generating project na rin kasi yung yung pagtakbo kasi alam mo may mga donasyon 'yan, may makukuhang pera. Alam mo naman na hindi ka mananalo pero at least opportunity to earn. That is something that should be I think looked into in legislation kung ano man meron ba tayong magagawa diyan. Now, to the issue of whether sino ba seryoso ngayon, sino bang qualified. Alam mo kasi Sito, sa totoo lang, mas stringent pa nga ang pag-apply sa kumpanya kasi meron kang mental health consideration, meron kang educational attainment, di ba? May age, may psychological testing pa yan, may literacy. Sabi nga nila yung pumasok ang security guard, mas matindi pa ang requirement na dadaanan mo kaysa magtumakbo ang pagka-mayor o konsehal. Kasi unang-una, walang psychological assessment yan. Walang education, basta ikaw Filipino. Napakababa. Kasi ang ginawa naman ng masyadong naging theoretical naman yung argument ng mga nag-draft siguro ng konstitusyon. Kasi sa demokrasya, parang minimimik ng electoral process, kung mature ang electoral process, minimimik niyan yung vetting sa hiring. Di ba? Ang hirap manalo. Ang hirap talagang kung rational mag-isip ang mga tao, kung demokrasya talaga tayo, then malinaw na yung prefer ng tao, syempre yung mas dapat, yung karapat-dapat. Okay? Nagkataon na hindi ganun nangyayari kahit ang ating electorate immature. Kahit electorate natin, lalo na ngayong mga panahon, nakakatakot ito Sito. Dahil ngayon, maaring online ang campaign. Di ba?
Yeah.
Mas dahil walang face-to-face. Ngayon nga ang social media kasi madaling i-play, madaling i-game. mayroon kang troll farms. Ano ba sabi ni Senator Lacson? Hindi na bago yan. Ang dami na ang troll farm gumana na before. At lalong gagana yan ngayon, yung
And
disinformation,
if I'm not,
propaganda.
yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Senator Lacson also recently mentioned na mayroong parang undersecretary raw na is into
Yes.
farming already, troll farming.
Matagal nang nangyayari yan noong 2016 at 2019, mas matindi yung 2022. Madaling i-game. Although maganda ang social media campaign kasi in a way mas accessible, mas cheaper, hindi mo na kailangan magbayad ng mga billboard, madali ka mag-TikTok ka lang, okay na, di ba? Pero mas madali namang magdala ng disinformation, ng character assassination, dahil ano na siya meron ng pruweba na pwede siyang manipulate. At yan nga, yung mga troll farms. So mas nakakabahala talaga. Exciting pero mas nakakabahala.
Professor Casiple, should we allow online campaign? I mean, I don't know what the law says, pero parang given this reality, paano mangyayari yan? So yung sinasabi ni Professor Contreras, what's your reaction to that, Professor Casiple?
Well, as far as there is an occasion or capability to do social media or any other media, there's no law or there's no barrier. And in fact, that's the one that's been discovered by pandemic period. The social media is a major front in the campaign.
Okay. Professor Contreras, yung mga deodorant naman, ano? So we can educate our viewers also. May mga taong nagpapagamit na deodorant during campaigns, during this time of political process where they lend their clean image, their brand name, or parang short of the endorsers, ito yung mga deodorants. Hindi sila, nakikipag-alliance sila para bumango yung isang kandidato at sila naman yung mahila. Professor Contreras.
Well, parte na ng strategy talaga ng politika. In fact, sa ngayon, in a way, let me also spin that in a different angle, Cito. Kasi nangyayari for example, sa political opposition. Kaya medyo mahirap ang sitwasyon ng oposisyon sa ngayon kasi nalimitahan nila yung kanilang field ng kandidato doon sa mga traditional na oposisyon na LP o kaya sa left ka. Hindi na nakita na politics is addition. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. Di ba mga ganon? Parte na yan ng political strategies. And so they stuck to this very purist, very moralistic standard to a point na ngayon, hirap din sila maghanap ng kandidatong ihaharap sa administrasyon. Kasi nga, yun nga, yung maaring tama ka yung deodorant na nagpapagamit, pero sometimes, yung deodorant na yun, hindi necessarily unprincipled. Kasi pwede mo namang gawin na maaring itong taong ito, reverse maaring para mahila ka, maging electable ka. Kasi reality yan sa politika Kahit ang ganda ng platform mo, ang ganda ng karakter mo, pag hindi ka winnable. Pero kung makikipag-alyansa ka sa mga winnable na may ibang narrative na maaring may tainted in a way. But you have to manage this. You have to, there are political marketers, there are political strategists to do this. But the thing is, maganda ba yan? Sa isang banda maganda kasi naman kahit anong galing ng isang kandidato, pag hindi ka mananalo, walang silbi. 'Di ba? Wala kang silbi.
Professors, let's go for a quick break. When we return, let's pursue that point. We'll be right back here on Agenda. 8 minutes to go on the show, and with us, our guests for today, experts on political science, Professor Antonio Contreras and Professor Ramon Casiple. Professor Casiple, Professor Contreras pointed out na you can ride the horse of morality, pero that doesn't guarantee winnability. And should the opposition or anyone aspiring for political office either make deals with the devil, or should they simply look for another means of livelihood?
Well, the bottom line here is votes. You want to have the majority of votes or the biggest vote that you can get. So how do you get that? Some of them you may have your own base. Some of them may come from alliances. Some of them can be both. It really depends on the strategy that you would want. But a lot of things actually is based on who the candidate actually is. And since we don't know yet the candidates, we don't have an idea at this time uh, what actually is the strategy. That's we need to wait for that because a strategy it depends not only on your own decision, it may also on whom are you fighting or who is in a position to derail what you plan to do. So at this time, there's no candidate yet.
Okay, so there's no candidate yet. Would that also mean that chances are it's going to be more of the same, gentlemen? Professor Contreras, kasi walang rising star ang oposisyon, walang independent individual who holds the promise. Would would it be another round of the same, similar to the Duterte administration or the Duterte administration?
Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time for looking for new faces. Kasi ano na, less than a year na lang, di ba?
Hmm.
Eleksyon na sa Mayo. And Hunyo na ngayon. So I'm afraid that I have to say we will be seeing the same things, the same names. Hopefully, what will change is the behavior of the electorate. Yun lang sana ang ini-wish ko. We can have the same candidates, we can have the same faces, but if the people, the voters will have a different perspective, siguro naman sana naman yung I'm hoping yung pinagdaanan natin sa pandemic, siguro sana natauhan tayo, but is that, I don't know whether that's wishful thinking or hopelessness or just simply clutching at straws, pero yun ang kailangan magbago. Magbago, pare-pareho man ang ating mga kandidato, kung magbago ang isip ng tao, baka naman sa panahong ito mag-iba rin yung takbo ng politika sa Pilipinas. Pero that you know, and I think yun ang kulang kasi sa atin yung matinding voter education, matinding grassroots organizing para sa mature voting behavior. Puro nakatutok ngayon sa sinong kandidato ikakampanya mo, sinong kandidata. Kaya wala sa gitna, wala yung, although may mga gumagawa niyan, pero I hope yun ang bigyan ng mas pansin ng media, ng civil society, ng akademya. Kalimutan yung kung sinong kakampihan, sinong ibibenta. Kundi ano dapat yung behavior, ano dapat yung gawin ng isang botante.
Okay, how do you assess the situation in terms of the Senate, for instance? Medyo, if you look closely naman sa Senate, mukhang may material naman sa Senado. Nandoon si Frank Drilon, nandoon si Ping Lacson. On a populist level, you have Manny Pacquiao. What if these people got together? I mean, within the Senate, you have very rich people, very experienced and knowledgeable people. Would they by themselves be able to form something different but something strong?
But they are the same they're from the same swamp, I guess. They're from the same political swamp. When you mention Drilon or Lacson, I know that they have new ideas, but they're still part of the familiar names. We probably would be looking for someone who is maybe not necessarily new in politics, but someone who has something new to offer.
But
Uh,
what about the response, Professor Contreras and Professor Casiple, Prof. Mon, yung better the devil you know than the devil you don't like. Prof. Mon.
Well, you don't want a diver at all. That's why I think the best thing to do there is to get somebody whom you can trust, or whom at the least a very low level of problems that when he becomes the president or the high government official will not become a problem himself.
Mhm.
mhm.
Meaning,
But
we have to see if the problems of the nation today can be taken up by those who will win. They are capable of addressing it. It's not anymore a question of ideology or a programmatic approach. We have actually problematic situation, economy. We have this pandemic. We have this foreign policy problems. I myself would suggest that people or the voters should look at these particular problems and then act accordingly when they vote. Who is in a position to actually face or possibly solve the problems?
Well, that's a very good point, Professor Casiple. And following up on what Professor Contreras said, perhaps the three of us, aside from the millions of Filipinos, should push the candidates for president and vice president to show their cards in terms of cabinet members. Kasi
Mhm.
I personally feel na you
Yeah.
can have the best president but the most stupid cabinet members and you still have a stupid administration. In any case, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We hope to get you more often on the program. Please take care, please stay safe, and I hope you are both vaccinated already.
One dose.
Okay,
Two
one
doses.
dose.
Complete
Two
na.
dose. Okay, complete na rin. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Contreras, Professor Casiple. And that's all the time we have here on Agenda. Thank you for joining us today. Yun po, no? If anything, if you're going to talk about presidential candidates, we need to push for these candidates to show their cards. Sino ang cabinet members ninyo? Ano yung programa nyo? Because always we look at the face of the candidate, the singers of the candidate, the family of the candidate, but they don't have preparation. They should by now be prepared, as Professor Casiple pointed out. That is where parties play an important role. Hindi lang sa pagpili ng kandidato, kung hindi sa paggawa ng programa at sinong magpapalakad ng programa. And that's today's agenda. Keep it here on Cignal TV channels 8 and 250. And I'm Cito Beltran, and we are One News.